Hello everyone, this is Kittens Cycling in Ireland. Today's cycling is in Achill Ireland in County Mayo. As you can see, I've stayed in B&B called Anvil House and it was great. And this is my second day. First day I drove from Dublin and I had a very good night's sleep. This is early morning next day and I'll be doing 160 kilometer cycle for the first time in my life. And they usually call it 100 miles. And Achill here is not my first time, and I've been here about a year and a half ago and I really love this place. So this summer I visited here again. The original plan was to do camping because I know that there's at least 2 great campsites in Achill Island. But I found this very reasonably priced B&B, Anvil B&B, so I chose to stay in B&B instead. You know, if B&B and campsite are the same price, then it's always more convenient to stay in B&B. Free breakfast too. So what I'm doing here now is I crossed Achill Sound Bridge and came to Achill Island Hotel for breakfast. Because on this day, the owner, Roisin, at B&B was too busy working. So she introduced me to have a breakfast in this hotel instead. It was a lovely surprise to see these cute little sheeps in the picnic area. You know, it's always a pleasure to see sheeps in the Western Ireland. This was the morning Irish breakfast, though it's not really healthy. I think it's great to have this in the morning of your big cycling day. After breakfast, the first course I came across in the morning is called Great Western Greenway. This greenway connects Achill Island and Westport. You can see in the video, there was a little 10-kilometer marathon, a village marathon going on this day, and I tried to avoid them for the safety, but couldn't get away with them completely, so at some point I had to cycle with them. Also, the sky is quite cloudy, in the contrary of what they said in the weather forecast. It's not that windy, so that's a silver lining. After the Great Western Greenway, I make my first stop at the Balikroy National Park Visitors Center. So what today's cycling is different from a year and a half ago is that previously I only cycled in the Achill Island itself. However, today's course both includes the island itself and County Mayo. Also, last time it was only about 80 kilometers. But today it will be 160. The problem of Western Mayo is because the population is so scarce. It was quite hard to find a decent cafe where you can go for a cup of coffee and a nice snack to boost your cycling. But then I found out this Balikroy National Park and a lovely little cafe called Ginger and Wild. That's where I'm visiting now. It's been only about 30 to 40 kilometers since I started the morning cycling, so it's a bit early to take a rest. But I love to visit these lovely cafes during my long distance tour cycles. After the coffee, I continue up north and came across a town called Bangor. I was keep heading north, but from here I changed my direction to the east and head down to the Balikroy National Park itself. It seems like overall this national park is called Balikroy, But on the east side of the park is also called Balikroy National Park. And there is a nice trail like this in Balikroy. You can drive, cycle, or even walk, but walking seems too much for me because the total kilometer you have to cover is about 30 to 40 kilometers, and it's definitely too much for me. However, it's a perfect distance on a road bike. The scenery here is nothing special, a typical Western Ireland rugged place as you would expect. Meadows, sheep, and some lakes, and of course bogs, which is like a shallow swamp that is dominant in Western Ireland. So, about this Achill Island. When people visit Ireland from overseas and try to experience a little bit more than Dublin, the city itself, it seems like people usually go to some famous places such as Ling of Kerry, Galway, or Connemara National Park, and Limerick, Cork, to name a few. But I hardly saw people who venture to this Achill Island. However, from my experience of 20 to 30 times of camping and cycling in various areas of Ireland, this Achill is definitely one of the best places to cycle in Ireland. I think I mentioned when it comes to summers in Ireland, I tend to always do camping instead of staying in B&B. It's because, first, the price here in Ireland during peak seasons is too expensive. And second, beside the price itself, it's so hard to get the right room at the right moment. Since I'm always cycling in these rural areas of Ireland, the sunny weather is most crucial for me. But everyone knows how flexible the weather is in Ireland. There was once a time that I came across about 20 rains and sunny sunshines in just one day. So it's almost like gambling to book a vacation about several weeks ago, and that includes both weekdays and weekends. And as being a cyclist, I cannot risk myself doing more than 100 kilometers in a miserable rainy day. So B&Bs and all these hotels are out of picture. But if you search campsites carefully, more than often I can squeeze in my small tent. And that's the main reason why I'm so into camping during summers. But interesting thing is, even camping in Ireland is more expensive than other Western Europe, like Spain and France. I heard this from other European cyclists who visited Ireland during their summer vacation, and they say they usually paid about €10 per day in France, but now they're paying at least 15 and sometimes €20 in Ireland, which is also interesting because compared to South Korea, where I'm from, B&Bs and hotels are much cheaper in South Korea. But in South Korea, it's usually 30 to 40 euros per night at campsites. And for me, like 20 to 25 euro per night, including electricity, is actually not a bad deal. So back to the video. Now I'm crossing over Achill Sound Bridge again, which I've went past in the morning. And at this point, I've cycled already about 130 kilometers around the countryside of western Mayo County. And here I'm continuing down to the place called White Cliffs of Ashland. This is the place that I visited exactly about a year and a half ago. And personally, this is the best seaside cycling route that I've experienced in Ireland. So this time, I'm heading there again. And also this will fill up another 20 to 30 kilometers of cycling mileage this day, so that I can achieve my first 100 miles. You can already see in the video that the scenery is getting more dramatic and better. The thing I felt about this cliff size of Western Irish coast is that it is not really majestic feeling when it's compared to like Himalaya or Alps. Maybe in the Ice Age, the whole island was covered so deep in glacier, and all these terrains were swept away by the flow of the ice. But this whole Atlantic way in the Western Island gives you so peaceful and warm feeling that makes me always come back to Western coast in summer times. Now I'm arriving at the lookout point of the White Cliffs of Ashland. This is a spot that has been featured in this video's intro scene, where I stopped it for a while and flew my drone. The drone that I'm using, by the way, is DJI Mini 2. Not the latest one, but still decent enough. I bought this drone about 2 years ago, and ever since, this is a device that's always coming with me when I'm going on the touring cycle. Since the drone has the word mini in its title, it's so light and fits perfectly into my saddlebag. DJI has more expensive drones, but those drones do not fit into my cycling gears. And coupled up with this Insta360 camera, I can record the beautiful scenery of Ireland as much as I want. From the land and from the air. The only thing I have to be careful is to mind the people and houses nearby and make sure that I'm flying my drone in the drone fly permitted area. This is one of my favorite descents in Western Ireland coast. The S-curved road coming down from the lookout point of Ashland. I'm briefly stopping here to check if my Insta360 is still running, because unfortunately sometimes my camera gives an SD card error and does not record the scene. Speaking of truth, this is my second time going down this road on this day, because on my first downhill, the camera gave an SD card error and did not record anything at all. Because this scene is one of today's highlights, I really couldn't miss it, so I climbed up the cliff again and went down for the second time. The reason why I am applying only my right brake, which is my front brake, is that I don't know why exactly, but my front disc brake is always producing this weird squeaky sound, no matter how much I keep it clean. But it goes away after applying some decent enough force on the disc. So when I'm doing a descent, I often carefully apply only the front brake to get it cleaned using the friction. The scenery behind me is lovely, and I shot this clip intentionally because I knew it would be great. Because Insta360 camera is sticking to the front of my bicycle, and when I cycle in this angle, it will record everything behind me, including the white cliffs of Ashland. At this point, it was about 150 kilometers, and I was completely exhausted. But the cycling was almost done and there was nothing to hurry, so I just enjoyed my way back to the B&B. So that was my first 100 miles in my entire life, and honestly I quite didn't expect it that I can make it. And that's the reason why I planned this route in both versions, which is a shorter 130 kilometer one and longer 160 kilometer one. But hey, I made it. It's always good to feel that you are improving day by day, and you can go faster, longer, farther without being too exhausted. That's a wrap up of today's cycle, and I'll come up with more videos in the near future, since I'm going out on a cycling trip almost every week during July and August. There are no shortage of clips. Thank you for watching and see you next time.